Thank you, Mr. President, very much. Mr. President, I rise today to discuss a number of my amendments to the FAA reauthorization bill. Mr. Chairman, I filed Markey 3467 to protect consumers from ridiculously high airline fees. In recent years, fees have gone up despite the fact that gas prices and airline choices have gone down. Regrettably, the only thing competitive about the current airline industry is the battle for overhead compartment space. Since 2001, 10 major airlines have become 4, allowing air carriers to charge ridiculous fees and act in uncompetitive ways. The 4 major airlines now control 80% of the seat capacity in the United States. At some major airports, passengers only have 1 or 2 airlines to choose from. And now, airline fees have climbed as high as the planes passengers are traveling on. We must stop their rapid ascent to protect the everyday airline passenger. According to an excellent report released by Ranking Member Nelson last year, 3 airlines increased checked baggage fees by 67% between 2009 and 2014. And 4 airlines increased the cancellation fees by 33%. One increased its fee by 50%, and one increased its fee by 66%. Airlines should not be allowed to overcharge captive passengers just because they need to change their flight or check a couple of bags. It is just not fair. There is no justification for charging consumers a $200 fee to resell a $150 ticket that was canceled well in advance, when the airline could then resell that ticket for a higher fare to a different traveler. Further, airlines like Delta, United, and American charge as much as $25 for the first checked bag and $35 for the second bag, even though there appears to be no appreciable cost increase for processing the second bag. That's $60 to check 2 bags one way, or $120 round trip to check 2 bags. My amendment prohibits airlines from imposing fees that are not reasonable and proportional to the cost of the services provided. This common sense consumer protection does not prevent airlines from charging fees. The amendment simply caps airline fees at a fair rate to ensure that passengers are not getting tipped upside down at the ticket counter. I am pleased that Senators Blumenthal and Klobuchar have co-sponsored my amendment. I offered this amendment in the Commerce Committee, and it received a vote of 12 to 12. It's time to break this tie on the Senate floor. Further, my amendment enjoys broad support from several groups, including the National Consumers League, the Consumer Federation of America, and Travelers United. Mr. Chairman, I intend to offer my cybersecurity amendments as well. 3468, 3469, and 3470. In December, I sent letters to 12 domestic airlines and 2 airplane manufacturers requesting information on the cybersecurity protections on their aircrafts and computer systems. What I found was startling. Currently, airlines are not required to report attempted or successful cyber attacks to the government. Let me say that again. Airlines are not required to report attempted or successful cyber attacks on that airline to the federal government. According to the National Air Carrier Association, which represents Allegiant, Spirit, and Sun County, some of the country's smaller airlines, some of their carriers experience several hundred hacking attempts into their system every single day. But since there is no requirement to share this information with the FAA, potentially valuable cybersecurity information may not get to the other airlines, manufacturers, and regulators. So my amendment addresses these concerns. 1, mandating that airlines disclose cyber attacks to the FAA. 2, directing the FAA to establish comprehensive cybersecurity standards. 3, commissioning a study to evaluate the safety and security risks associated with Wi-Fi on planes. My amendment enjoys, again, broad support from the Association of Flight Attendants, Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, and the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. And finally, on drone privacy. In committee, we added a requirement that government operators disclose where they fly drones, the purposes of the flight, and whether the drone contains cameras, thermal or cell phone interceptors. My amendment would extend those requirements to commercial drone operators, and I encourage all senators to support my amendments, and I thank you, Mr. President, for giving me this opportunity to address the chamber. And I yield back the balance of my time. And once again, I question